Welcome, focused learners. Let's dive right into today's explainer. We're taking a full-blown masterclass on digital conversion. You know, if you've ever found yourself wondering why some websites effortlessly turn casual visitors into fiercely loyal customers while others just bleed traffic no matter what they try, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to explore how sky-high conversions are absolutely never an accident. Instead, they're the result of a deliberate, strategic cascade. It starts from the very words you choose, flows seamlessly into the design of your landing page, and then finishes up with rigorous, continuous user experience audits. And hey, the data backing this up is basically undeniable. According to the Siegel plus Scale Global Brand Simplicity Index, a whopping 64% of consumers are willing to literally pay a premium for simpler experiences. Think about that for a second. It completely proves that your messaging and your UX aren't just, nice to haves. They carry direct, massive monetary value. The gap between companies that skyrocket and those that stall out is rarely the product itself. Actually, it's the story they tell, and how incredibly easy they make it for the customer to buy into that story. So, we're taking a builder's journey approach today. Here's our agenda. First, we figure out the story with the messaging foundation. Then, we craft the narrative. Third, we build the landing page to host that story. Fourth, we validate everything with message market fit. And finally, we scale it all up using the continuous UX audit. Let's get into it. Okay, Section 1, the Messaging Strategy Foundation, building the brain of your digital presence. So the reality here is that most companies don't actually have a messaging problem at all. They have a clarity problem. They just pile every single feature onto their website, stuff their pitch decks with insane amounts of jargon, and throw everything at the wall to see what sticks. But great messaging isn't about saying more, it's about saying the exact right thing to the right person at the perfect moment. Fixing this starts with your value proposition. And let's be super clear, this is not some catchy tagline or a fluffy mission statement. A real value proposition clearly articulates the connection between a specific customer pain, your absolutely unique capability, and a measurable outcome. It defines exactly why a customer should choose you over just doing nothing. Take Stripe, for example. When they launched, all the legacy competitors were pitching secure payments to CFOs. Stripe totally ignored that. They offered 7 lines of code and pitched directly to developers, promising they could accept payments in minutes, not weeks. They didn't sell processing, right? They sold developer time back. Brilliant. Moving on to Section 2, the art of the narrative, transforming features into feelings. You see, human beings do not make decisions based purely on rational value propositions. No way. We decide based on stories. Donald Miller's narrative arc shows us exactly how to structure this perfectly. You always start with the customer's status quo, then you introduce a tension or problem, position your brand as the trusted guide, your product as the logical plan, and you end with a powerful resolution. Airbnb used this masterfully to rebrand. They stopped talking about cheap room rentals. Instead, they tapped into the deep tension of travelers feeling completely disconnected in new cities and positioned Airbnb as the guide to belong anywhere. They essentially transformed the customer's identity, making the customer the absolute hero of the story. But here's the catch. You must translate that core narrative for specific buyers. Look, if you give a CTO and a marketing director the exact same message, you're going to lose both of them, for sure. An engineering leader, they want to hear about API architecture and uptime. A marketing leader, they want to hear about time to market and campaign ROI. And the CFO, honestly, they just want to know about cost reduction. You have to adapt your core story into the specific language and the exact metrics that each persona actually cares about. This tailored approach completely revolutionizes how you handle your competitors. Contrast the old habit, feature stuffing and going on the attack, against this new way. Outcome-first messaging and literally shifting the evaluation criteria. Basecamp is a textbook example of this. Instead of joining this exhausting feature war against massive enterprise project management tools, Basecamp just framed enterprise complexity as a bug rather than a feature. They made the argument that most teams don't need 80% of what those massive tools offer. By doing that, they shifted the criteria so entirely that their simplicity became their ultimate superpower. We're wrapping our messaging section with this absolute mic drop quote from Donald Miller. If you confuse, you lose. It's so true. The human brain is naturally drawn to clarity, and it literally runs away from confusion. If a customer cannot understand what you do and why it matters to them in under 5 seconds, they're gone. Which perfectly transitions us to the arena where these 5 critical seconds play out, your website experience. Section 3, Anatomy of a Landing Page, the skeleton of your digital presence. Okay, This is where we fix the incredibly common mistake of just slapping together generic page sections, like you're just checking boxes off a list, instead of actually explaining the product in plain human language. Your landing page is the skeleton holding up your entire digital presence. High-performing pages usually follow Flow Agency's 4C framework: clarity, comprehension, credibility, and conversion. It's about visually taking the customer on a highly deliberate journey. You start by proving they're in the right place. Then you ground your product in a workflow they actually understand. After that, you follow up with verifiable social proof to build real trust. And finally, present a totally clear, frictionless call to action to close the deal. Now, the absolute dominance of your hero section simply cannot be overstated. Nielsen-Norman Group data shows users spend roughly 57% of their total viewing time right there, above the fold, before any scrolling even happens. To put that in perspective, more than half of their attention is spent on just the first screen they see. That means your hero section absolutely must instantly communicate what you sell, who it's for, and why it matters, using a razor-sharp headline and a confident CTA, all in a matter of seconds. All right, Section 4, Achieving Message Market Fit, Separating Opinion from Evidence. Getting the story right and getting that landing page built, honestly, that's only half the battle. We now enter the crucial discipline of separating internal boardroom opinions from actual, hard market evidence. We have to validate that our assumptions actually resonate with real human beings. Look at this massive jump in conversion rates. When companies go from no systematic testing to full funnel testing, their landing page conversion rates skyrocket from an average of, say, 1.2% all the way up to 11%. Systematic message testing, like A/B testing your headlines or running deep customer interviews, doesn't just improve your wording. It acts as a massive, tangible multiplier for your business's revenue. So, finding this fit requires actively listening to your market. Fit looks like consistent conversions, and sales teams enthusiastically using marketing's materials. Misfit, on the other hand, that looks like declining conversions and sales teams going totally rogue, creating their own pitch decks in a panic because the official ones just don't work. Gong, the revenue intelligence platform, navigated this perfectly. They analyzed their own winning sales calls, systematically extracted the exact words their absolute best reps and happiest customers were using, and then they made that their official marketing messaging. Brilliant, right? And finally, Section 5, the continuous UX audit, the immune system constantly adapting. Once you hit product market and message market fit, all that increased traffic is naturally going to expose some hidden friction in your initial user experience. Auditing that friction acts as your digital immune system, and let me tell you, it is a highly collaborative, hands-on process. It is not just running some automated script in the background. Finding success means you now have the real data to spot exactly where users are dropping off. By working across teams, designers, product managers, and marketers, you can pinpoint exactly where the user journey stumbles, and this lets you prioritize those high ROI quick wins over doing massive, expensive site overhauls. Scenic West Design uses a fantastic, incredibly straightforward process for this. First, you review your analytics to find the drop-offs. Second, conduct some unmoderated user research. Literally just watch about 10 real people attempt to navigate your site across mobile and desktop. Trust me, you will uncover friction points you were totally blind to just because you're too close to the product. Third, take screenshots of your UI and annotate those exact friction points. And finally, tag the opportunities that are low effort but high value to generate a fantastic backlog of quick wins. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on today. When a user bounces from your site, are you actually losing that deal to a competitor? Or are you simply losing to the friction of the do-nothing status quo? True conversion mastery requires your messaging to be so clear and your UX to be so completely seamless that taking action and buying your product is genuinely easier for the customer than walking away. Master the message, clear the path, and just watch those conversions soar. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.